LinkedIn Live, Hour of Empower. Today's keyword, happiness. I don't know if there's many words better than that. And for coincidence, we've got a whole new show today that wasn't anticipated, and I'm so happy to have Kelly with us and Harvey with us on a Monday. So don't check your calendar and think it's Thursday or Friday. And we're here for you. We really depend on your comments, your thoughts, your insights to not only guide us, but guide everyone in the audience. I've got a new person here I never have seen before.
Allison. Hey, Allison.
Okay, see, and that's the beauty of having more people. Everybody brings their people, and their people becomes everybody's people. So this is how it really builds positively. Chastity's here, who's a great friend of Gretchen, and glad to have you, Chastity. With that said, Kelly, what's your thoughts, a little update, and thoughts on happiness and where this show is going and what we're seeing?
Yes, I mean, so many things to unpack in just that. But good morning, good afternoon, good evening, for wherever you are tuning in from, or if you're watching the replay, because everybody needs a little more happiness in their life. And I just want to say this show has brought me, and I'll get into, because I immediately, when I saw the word happiness, of course I was like, and then it was like, hey, can you be on tomorrow? And hey, Harvey's going to be on too. And I immediately felt happy. But looking at the word, I thought happiness and joy. And I was like, you know what? Happiness and joy are not interchangeable. Happiness is a feeling that we have so much more frequently, and it can range from things of like being content or pleasure or bliss, but it's not long-lived. It's just an emotion that we feel shortly and often. And joy is more of a state of our being and is much deeper and much stronger and is not as frequent as happiness. And I put that more into us being in touch with our inner self so deeply. That is where joy comes in. And then the other part of it for me that came in was joy. And having that pure joy is something that is much more long-lived, where happiness is just a momentary feeling of something. Those were my initial thoughts, and I'm so pumped about where this is going to go today. And I, of course, do have 4 levels of happiness, but I feel like I've already put out enough, so I'll save that for another part in this conversation. So what are your thoughts, Harvey?
No, first of all, hello to everyone. And I quite like the good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Well, I think it was the 2 Ronnies who used to say that. I can't remember. But yeah, it's fantastic that everybody's here. And it's amazing that everybody's all over the world. Some people are watching this at different times. Feels a little bit like being in the time machine sometimes. So it's fantastic to be here. It's confusing me being here on a different day. I keep looking at my calendar. Is it Friday? Is it the weekend? But it's fantastic. And absolutely what you just said there, Kelly, really resonated with me. I think you're right. I think happiness is, it can be a temporary thing. I think for me, happiness is when I make somebody else happy. I think it really does. That's really where it sits with me. I think whether that's my family, my wife, my children, or whether that's even somebody I don't know, I think that's where I find true happiness. Yeah, and that's where those little moments come from. And I think if you're searching for happiness for other people, you find it for yourself a lot easier. So and there's already, my goodness, there's already some great comments coming in here as well. I want to say hi to David and to Alison. She was sorry that she missed my juggling. Well, you know,
You can still see it. You just go back an episode and it's there.
Exactly. It's there forever now. That fantastic.
Lucky you.
That's it. Absolutely. I was just looking at some
Well,
of
here's one
the
from
comments.
David.
Yeah, happiness for me is contentment.
Yes.
That's lovely, actually. That's a lovely thing to say. I think being content is absolutely happiness, and you don't have to have a lot to be content. Taking a nice walk and appreciating nature, or seeing somebody happy, or I think, Don, you said this, smiling at someone. If you smile at someone and they smile back, it's a really simple, easy thing to do. Or say hello. Or if you thank someone, they're getting happiness from it. You're getting happiness from it. It's such an easy thing to do, and contentment. I think that's a great word. Joy is an additional level of happiness. Yeah, I think so. And Kelly, you touched on this, that joy is perhaps a deeper level of happiness. And I think you're probably right there. I think that's a great comment. I just love everybody's take on these amazing words. It's lovely to listen to.
Well, I think what happiness is it lies at the intersection of satisfaction also. When you do a great job, or someone does a great job for you, or whatever, you get surprised in a positive way, you feel satisfied. When you finish your day and you're proud of everything you've done and who you've done it with, that's a matter of satisfaction, which then makes you happy. Happiness is derived by so many different things. And then I think the other element, because this show is so great at slicing, dicing, going deeper, is how much happiness do you need to be happy? When do you get happy? Do you get happy early and fast? Or does it have to take all day to build? And then maybe you reach that level of happiness before you go to sleep and start over again. So who judges, what makes you happy? How happy can you be for how long when you get happy? How happy can you spread your happiness? I mean, if you look at things that are intangible in a tangible nature, a smile is getting to know somebody you'll never know if you pass them on the street. But you made each other happy for a moment, right? You both smiled, which meant something had to happen to create that smile. And if you even take it to a laugh, and I think to Harvey's juggling, if you have something, even people who tell silly jokes just to break the ice or get off of a serious subject, right, can bring somebody happiness when you're not thinking about what you're just dealing with versus, hey, if you get them to laugh, you put them in a whole different state of mind. And to Harvey's point, what was the cost? Why dig into trouble when you can redirect, just like a detour on a road, to a happier trail? And I think when you take it to another level with LinkedIn, this is where we communicate, right? This is where we post. This is where we do our LinkedIn lives. How much happiness are you including as an ingredient in your communication? How many wishes of goodwill today? You got so many letters on a post you never use. I just added 14 more testimonials today to my newsletter, and I could have added 14. And here's one thing I'll say. If anybody writes a good comment this week about the show, I'll put them in on the newsletter every day and tag you and show your comment, right? Because now everybody gets more visibility and more third-party validation. And if we could start that process, I know Kelly is a big advocate and fan for certain people who really deserve it. Why don't you get your if you were a promoter and you had all these talented people and you were their agent, you'd be making calls everywhere to get them in, right? And you'd be putting them in everything you have. So really the key is getting away from yourself and advocating, here's what I do, here's what I want, is to reflect yourself in what you do for others and put that as a high profile. I saw Harvey yesterday put a whole list of people looking for work, right? Dedicated a post and had all these people's names. And what did it take? Doing it. So anyways, Kelly, we got some great comments. Let's first recognize people. I just want to go through the names real quick. Allison, Hope Barron, thank you for coming. Hope you keep coming back.
Yes.
Like I say, Chastity's here. Iman, who looks like a new name. Welcome.
Welcome.
Our message translates everywhere to everybody. Hello, Paul says, great to see you all again. Grateful to be here to support and learn. Paul's here every day. Can't thank him enough. Roxanne's here. Roxanne hit it out of the park yesterday.
Yes, she
did. Reach out, connect with her, promote her. You'll learn a lot from her. Harvey's juggling made me laugh out loud from Friday's show.
Me too.
It's memorable. It's like when the Beatles went on Ed Sullivan. And everyone in the community. That's from Lillian. Lillian did just fantastic last week. Christine, who couldn't co-host but fully understand, had to finish her finance manifesto. I'm so glad you did. Congratulations, Christine. Always a valued person to have on the show. Missed Harvey juggling. You can catch up. Happiness for me is contentment. Joy is an additional level of happiness. We've got Leslie here. Leslie is a stalwart, always here to support. We've got Christine, missed you. Congratulations. Congratulations from everybody. I replaced happiness with fulfillment. I realize I'd never be content because there will always be something to learn and someone to help, so that my thoughts on happiness. Kelly, what do you think?
Yeah, well, just even on Paul's comment there, I feel like that's why I think happiness is that moment. Why can I not say the word this morning? Momentarily feeling or moment. Why can't I say it? What is wrong?
Of a moment.
Yes. And I think fulfillment is so much deeper. And I think that's beautiful, Paul, that you put it that way for yourself. And just to go back on the things that both of you were just talking about is I kind of, when I was thinking about, like I said, the difference between happiness and joy, came back to community. And I'm not going to shout out anyone's name because it's not my story to tell, but I get a lot of, or have received some incredible DMs from people. And one of them recently was about how this show has changed their life and their view of how to live, and is doing things that they never thought they would do. And that, I mean, I sobbed. I talked to Dawn and I cried, and it's not the first time you've seen me cry, but they were complete, utter tears of joy. Because and most of you already know this, at the beginning of the year when I was praying about, I need to live louder in my purpose. And the next day I was on the phone with Dawn, and then 2 days later I was on my first live. And for whatever reason, I just kept going with it. Didn't know where it was going, but I loved what I was seeing happen. Part of community, and that this translates everywhere, because all we're doing is, hey, this is your safety zone. This is where you're not judged. We're all human beings, period. We don't care about anything else. And community, of course, is about support, feeling safe, and achieving things that we never thought we could because we feel safe to do so. And, the bottom line of all of that is love. And that translates everywhere. And I just adore that. And I've seen, again, so many incredible messages. And some bring me joy, some bring me happiness. Harvey's juggling, as an example, that brought me happiness in the moment, because it was, and that's the other part of this show that I absolutely adore, is that it's just completely authentic. we now having the word, which I think, thank you, Charles, because it gets people to focus and see the different perspectives. What is with me not being able to say words this morning? I didn't have my black rifle. But in any event, it shows everyone that there's so many different perspectives to just even a word. So put that, level up into life situations or why people believe certain things. And just taking it there and opening your mind to be like, wow, I didn't think of it that way. Love that. So that's been another thing that definitely brings me happiness. And the other thing that I thought of, and I guess I'll drop it in here before I hand it over to you, Harvey, is the 4 levels of happiness. And man, I can't remember where I saw it, where I read it, or what the situation was, but the first one is about materialism. And we look outside ourselves to find happiness. We'll find happiness or get happy when I'm able to finally afford those Christian Louis Vuittons, or when I can buy that amazing sports car, or when I buy this house in this great neighborhood. That's going to be my happiness, all external. And the second one is about comparison, which I think is exacerbated with social media, because we're driven by those vanity matrix and feeling empowered by our own ego of thinking, well, I'm better than this person because I have more followers and I have more likes and more interaction. But that's your ego. That's not happiness. That has nothing to do with it. And the third one is the show, in my opinion, is the level of doing good for others. And that's based in love, because there's no agenda. It's just, I'm showing up for me and I'm showing up for you. And I think that's so important with human connection that so many people have forgotten about. And the fourth one would be perfect happiness with self. And I also think that lies in love, but is much deeper. But when we actually do find our happiness from within ourselves, not from any of those other places, because external and ego, that's not real happiness. So those were my other thoughts on that. So I gave you lots to chew on there.
I'm full up now. There's a lot you gave me to chew on there. No, you made some really good points, actually, and there's been some amazing comments, and some of those are resonating with what you've said there. I mean, Alison, for instance, said that to find true happiness, first we must look within ourselves, and I think that's a really good thing to say. And it was just what you were saying there, Clay. So I think that's really, that's really valid and really important to remember. I find happiness by making other people happy. And it's a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, because by making other people happy, I'm finding happiness within myself as well. But I do agree, where do you start with that? Sometimes you've got to be contentment, we're saying that word. So I think you've got to feel content to start that journey, perhaps. But, it's somewhere in between too. I think I started my journey of helping other people, and contentment came along that way, within that journey. So I think I found purpose and contentment while making other people happy, and I'm in turn really happy myself. I mean, I've got to mention a few people as well, because there's just been some fantastic comments flying by, and you don't want to listen to me banging on all the time. So again, Alison and David have both said something really interesting. To live in the moment and appreciate life as it comes. Don't focus on the burdens, and find something to be happy about each day. I kind of mixed what they both said together there, but I think it's really important, actually. Happiness can also be a perspective. I think that we all encounter different things throughout our day. And I think if we, I just dropped my pen, hold on. I think if we focus on the real good and the wonderful things that happen, and make our life about those wonderful things, I think we can all find happiness each day. Even if, like Kelly said, the happiness are those little moments of happiness. You patch those moments together, combine them with helping other people, it starts to turn into joy then, and it becomes something deeper. So I really think that if you get a positive perspective on your life, you can find a lot of happiness, and if you then if you then make that step of making other people happy, well, you're experiencing all the happiness they're experiencing as well. If you're sharing with them, connecting with them, talking to them about their day, asking them about good things that have happened to them during their day, suddenly they're focused on, some positive stuff as well. I've got to mention Scott. He's a name I didn't see before, but he just said supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I think
that's fantastic.
And I just thought that was a nice one word thing to put in there. And I'm glad, I think I said it right.
Yeah.
I think Lillian, and hi to Lillian again. It was lovely doing the show with you. You did an absolutely amazing job. Honor to be there with you. But, she said there to bring joy to someone else. So same thing. Happiness, I think, can be found within others for yourself. Again, I think when Kelly was saying about finding this show, I've often said that it only takes one connection to change your life. And I really believe that you can have one positive connection or one positive friend, and it can absolutely change your life for the positive. So even if you're not in that mental space to be able to see the positive in your day, then you're only one connection away from keep connecting, keep showing kindness and love to other people, and you'll find that connection that suddenly you look back on and go, well, that was the one that changed my life that day. So wow, there's some great comments. And and David said, I think that was the two Ronnies, so I'm glad that was confirmed.
Well, I want to recognize Nicole's here. Nicole is just a wonderful individual with a wonderful story. Olu's here. I'm so happy when people share a nickname that makes it easy on us. Thank you so much, Olu. Here's Rita's here. Rita's going to be here this Wednesday. Winning Wednesday, we're going to call it. Let me keep going. There's Petra's here. Actually, she goes by Ashley. She's going to be on with Andrea tomorrow. Just had a chance to talk to her the other day. Has an unbelievable story of courage and triumph. So can't wait to share her story with you. Linda's here. Linda is prodigious in her writing, and I wish these comments were bigger to include it all, but thank you so much, Linda. Paul's always here, chipping in. I learned that people always come and go, and you are the only constant in life. When you don't live your life on your terms, that's where regret, resentment, and negativity sets in. Well, I think that's so true. And to kind of piggyback on what was said is gratitude goes a long way towards justifying happiness. When you say, I am so happy, someone will say, why? What made you happy? And you'll come back and say, well, I won a contest. I found out the auto bill was half what I thought it would be. That makes me so happy. Someone just graduated from something, makes me so happy. I mean, everything around you could make you happy. Taking a walk could say, I'm so much happier. I think are goal oriented. To say, I'm taking a walk for a second, what's my goal with this walk? Mm-hmm. Do I want to come back stronger? better mental attitude, and if you just take note and become aware, and then you go back and reflect and say, how was I to you? Did this work? And what do we want to do tomorrow? Because see, there's no interference between you and you. There shouldn't be any fear. I heard two really good sayings today while I was doing my walk on my Audible. And one of them said, the cave you fear the most holds the treasure you need the most. So it's really getting inside and getting. And the other one says, you'll never know why someone buys unless you look through their eyes. And, until you understand everybody's got a different opinion, everybody's got a different background, everybody's had a different environment. And the key is when you unlock all that difference and you get to the common thread already there, which is pretty much heart to heart, feeling to feeling, and not just from a adventurous standpoint, but from a connection standpoint, because once we learn how to do things that we're doing, but do them better, do them bigger, do them faster, do them with more people, now all of a sudden the size of what you could get into becomes significant, where now something that's a plaything, a hobby, a pastime could turn into a passion, because the foundation is spreading happiness to more people in ways more people want to get it. And what I learned about this show is it's a talking show, not a teaching show.
Yeah.
And when people learn that, hey, we're just here to have conversations, not to be judgy, not to be teachy, not to be pushy. Because when anybody says you should do this, and they don't even know how many people are who's watching it, even if you made a mistake with one person, it was one mistake you didn't have to make, right? Because anytime you're setting up divisions, you're building unhappiness. Anytime you're building bridges, you're helping happiness, right? You never want to block the flow. Kelly, so much to dig into. Some of these comments are like...
So many great comments too. I mean, just honestly. And just so everybody knows, obviously connect with everybody that's here if you aren't already. And I know Harvey does this and I do this. I pay attention to this conversation of what we're having and certain things. So I don't comment back during the live, but I always go back and I comment later. And that being said, what I do want to piggyback off of what you said, and I'm sure there's going to be a few things, is, and I think Dave actually asked this question, if it's not goal focused, then should you drop goals? And I am super summarizing his question because it was longer and more thoughtful. But based on what you just said and Dave's question, I immediately thought of an example from my personal life. I was so goal focused in business. Like my goal was because I had men in my life in business that actually had the audacity to tell me things like, when I did make it to the boardroom table, that I was there to be seen and not heard. Or the reason that I wasn't making as much money as my counterparts, which were making 3 times what I was because I didn't have a college degree. But I knew that business inside and out. And my degree with honors, by the way. So, because I was like, I'm never going to have that happen again. But I was so determined, I am going to reach executive levels. Like it just was like, watch me and call me out and I'm going to do it. And once I achieved and made it to an executive director position, I was like, wow, I reached my goal. Like, and I saw me reaching that goal. It wasn't just a thought or something that I was like, I hope or I wish that to happen. I hoped, but I also visualized it. But when I got there, I was like, huh, this doesn't feel so hot. I thought it would feel super elite. I mean, I was proud of myself for my achievement, but I wasn't happy because I realized when I was looking back, I'm like, man, I have been on this goal that I've been missing things around me. I haven't been present for other things around me. And that's the part I think what you were referring to is an example of, having a goal sometimes, and that's an external thing. Me achieving a title, it isn't going to bring me happiness because that's external. It's not internal. But it did, honestly, was what started me on stepping back and doing some reflection and introspection of, I want to live my life going forward differently. And I want to choose to do these things because what a waste of so many things that I missed out on, and not, condemning myself by any means, because I was so focused on achieving a goal. So that's sort of my thought on that portion of me. What do you think, my friend?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting to look at how people think that maybe goals might achieve happiness, whatever those goals are, whether they're personal or whether they're in their business life. I think that and I think you're absolutely right. That doesn't bring happiness. I've had plenty of success and achieved various things that I set out to do, but that's not where I find happiness. That as I say, I find happiness helping other people. Alison mentioned a little side project, and these is one of these things. Little different connections do different things and add different things to your life. But a lot of people know that I enjoy art, and I use art to try and help other people. Alison is a very talented writer. And we're working on a little project where I'm doing some art, she's doing some writing, and in fact, Alex, who's not here today, but Alex Rainey, he's a musician, and he's also involved in a little project. And yes, absolutely, it's giving me happiness. It's helping other people. It's helping Alison. We're all helping each other there. And I think the result of it will be something that will also bring some happiness to other people. And that was the result of one connection, and it's turned out to be really enjoyable, and really looking forward to that little project. So I'm glad that Alison mentioned that one. I think someone mentioned the word authenticity, and I nearly struggled with saying that word then. But I think
thank you, Harvey. I feel
that's it. And I think that and also someone said that it's important for people to understand that you care. And I think those two things sort of sit well together. I think the wonderful thing about a LinkedIn Live here, especially when we turn up often, with all of us, I'm talking, we're really putting out exactly who we are. We can't hide who we are. I think being authentic, being who you are, and really genuinely caring, and I do genuinely care. I'm always just wanting to make people happy. Sometimes it's very difficult because sometimes you face a decision in your life where you can't keep everybody happy. And those moments I always struggle with, because I want everybody to be happy and to find joy.
And I'm sorry to interject on that. Is another component of happiness. We can't make someone else happy. And I'm with you, and I've had that experience where I've felt like, gosh, I know that they can achieve this or turn their life around because they're living in this place of suffering or whatever the situation. But it's also, like you said, of knowing when you got to be like, you know what, they're not ready. They just aren't. They've got to want to do it as much as we want to be able to see it happen for everyone.
Yes.
Because what a grand world that would be. But the fact is, sometimes people just aren't ready.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And you know, I may have said the story before, but I can give you two really good examples of that. There was one that happened a while ago where I went into a petrol station. There was somebody outside who was homeless. I always try and stop and talk to people on the streets because I think they just want some human interaction, some normal conversations. It's not just always about giving or asking for things or money. It's just about having a nice conversation. So I always try and stop and chat. And I spoke to this poor lady and she'd had a terrible time. And I said to her, I said, look, I think I can work out a way that I can help you here. I said, and I'd be prepared to help you financially for this, but I said, if you had £100, and I said, if you got yourself into a hostel for a week, you went to a charity shop, explained your situation, they'd be able to give you some clothes. I said that I'd be able to help you with a CV, I'd be able to help you find different interviews, all of these things. And I said, I'll be able to get you can have a home address. There's a company that does that. And she just said, I haven't got the energy. I haven't got it in me to do that. And it was very sad. And I tried to help her in a different way, but I think you're right. I think people need to find something within themselves. And sometimes, you're not ready to find that within yourself. And another one very recently, I reached out to someone, they put a post on LinkedIn and it just said that they wanted a friend to talk to. And I wasn't their friend, but I did reach out just to say, hi, look, I'm there if you want to talk. And they said, back off, not interested in talking to you, and that's okay. It's not, it doesn't hurt my feelings. It's good still to reach out to people, but they've got to be ready. I think, you make a really valid point there, I think, but if we all reach out and try and help each other, then we're all going to be in a good place.
Yes.
Well, I think we also think because we want or think everybody else wants some things. There are some people who have no desire to be happy. Somehow they found a way to survive by being unhappy, complaining all the time, looking at the glass as half empty instead of half full, not believing in tomorrow, but fearing it. And that's okay because, again, there's so many other billions of people, and there's other people who never want to stop to enjoy their happiness. As soon as they get their goal and they should be happy, they set a higher one. And they're always on the journey, never at the destination. And I think that by getting back to gratitude, when you wake up, and I do, and I'm thankful for being alive, right? I mean, there was no guarantee. No one knows what tomorrow's going to bring. But why not be grateful when you open your eyes that you have another day? And at night, take 2-3 minutes just to be, what was I grateful for today? What gifts did I get? It's only a few minutes here or there, but it sets the beginning and it kind of gives you context at the end, and you feel proud that, hey, not only did you live another day, but you added value to that day. And what could be happier? Because I, have had a lot more experiences, and I played pretty much every game. When you're younger, you're into achieving, you're into situations and possessions, and it's cool. But what you find is it takes you away from the most important things in your life, which are your people, right? If you got 4 cars, you're going to be driving them. You're going to be taking care of them. If you got too big of a house, you're always going to be maintaining it, right? But if all you are is in a room with the people you love, how much better can that be for happiness? Than something that comes, goes, and after a while you get sick of it just because you can, versus, being happy. And I think that, again, by doing this every day, you just need a little nudge every day. It's not a dramatic jump out the window. It's really what I would say, and that's the benefit of people's facial expressions and feelings that come through the camera, is it models for everybody else. And someone who says, I'm miserable, I'm unhappy, how do I get more Kelly? You know, how can I get on a show and be happy and grateful and thoughtful? And, you know, the answer is get hold of Kelly.
Yes.
Ask her, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Get hold of Harvey. You know, if you're curious, you owe it to yourself to ask that question to clear it, right? If you have something that was half done before you can go on to something else, finish it. And if you don't know how to finish it, go to the source, right? When you look at somebody's directions, you buy some device and it gives you 20 pages of directions, right? When you still can't figure it out, you call the company or email or something. You know, so anyways, that's another perspective, another way of looking. But I think everything we're going to be talking about in the future is now taking action. You know, your attitude, your mindset, your community, your safety nets in place. What do you want to do with it now? And who do you want to do it with? And be the initiator. You know, I hear so many times when people said, well, someone called me up on partnering, like Harvey is with his art and with his music. Someone else called me up and says, I'm doing something. I mean, even, let me not mispronounce the name, but there's so many people who became best-selling authors by just being inclusive in one book, right? I'll find her. And I think that's so important, is if you can't do it on your own, could you do it with people already doing it? Could you ask to do it with people who are doing it at whatever level? Well, here we are. Nicole's a primary example of someone who donated,
Yes.
you know, an element of the book, and it went to be very successful. So isn't it easier to do a little piece in a bigger group and fit together in a way, again, like that stone soup, than being off on your own? Forget about it. It doesn't work. So with that, Kelly, got a lot of comments that just came. I can't scroll fast enough.
I know, it's so great. And like I said, we will go back and respond if we skipped over yours in this session, and keep doing them, because we will go back and read them and catch them. And between both you and Harvey, what you were just saying, I was thinking of, you know, happiness is a choice and a mindset, I believe, because when we go into a situation, if I go, and I think I just said this the other day, as a matter of fact, you go into it thinking like, this meeting is going to suck. Well, it's going to suck because you're going to pick and choose all the pieces that fulfill that belief. If you go in being like, man, I'm going to crush this meeting and be so great, well, you're going to have that experience because you will pick the information to feed that belief. And the other thing I thought of when you were talking about the homeless person, I, for several years in Phoenix, because I'm in Florida right now for a bit, while Christy is out of the country. But there's a program there that is for feeding the homeless on Thanksgiving. And I always feel like I'm so grateful that I have food in my fridge. So I got involved with that. And I know the guy that runs it, he's an ex-NFL player, and it's Breakfast of Champions or Meal of Champions, because he does several other things as well. But being around the homeless community, because I'll tell you what, I saw the gamut of it. Some of them, and I like you, Harvey, man, I am one that I will go up and I want to know their stories. But you also knew the people that were like, oh, heck no, stay away from me. And, you know, I would try again. But some of them could get like nasty pretty quickly. And I would just be like, hey, if you change your mind, just come find me and I'm happy to chat. And one of the individuals that will forever stand out with me is they also offer a program to help educate and get degrees to help them get into the workforce. And it was also astonishing how many people didn't take advantage of that. And this one young man, I honestly think he was like 30, but he looked 40. He was a former meth addict, and he got sober, and he was looking to change his life. So he's doing it. I was like, good for you, man. And take all of it, because it's there for you. It's not, you're not taking from anyone. It's being given to you. And he did have that component of like, okay, well, that makes me feel better, because I think people feel embarrassed sometimes, thinking like, this is so shameful. And it's like, no, it's not. That's why it's there. It's there to help you. And we did end up, I allowed him to take a picture with me on his cell phone. And he was just like, this made my year. And it's just kind of in those moments that you hold so dear, because it's like, you know what, here's someone who was ready, and there was quite a few people that were nowhere near ready. And that's okay. I mean, just to go back to what we were saying earlier, Harvey, I would love to help make everyone happy. I'm one of those, and I know we've talked about this before too. I will smile at people. I will always give gratitude to the cashier, particularly when they look like, man, this day is awful, and you can tell. Or the person that you can tell in the store that just looks down, because you can see it, you can feel it. And the reason I do that more so is it happened to me. Having people, that was one of my to-dos at one of the lowest points in my life, was a checklist of get up, get dressed, go out and smile at somebody. And as silly as that sounds, it did change my mindset, because I was taking that, the love, because I think a smile is an expression of your love and or happiness. So I was that person, and I had people, and it was like, man, you make me want to get up in the morning, because now I want to go out and do this, where at first I was dreading it. And so now, and that is another reason why I go to other people, because I was that person at one time too. And it is those small things that make such a big difference in people's lives, and getting out of their own suffering, because I was suffering and I didn't want to live there. I wanted out. And something that small completely changed my life, my mindset, my perception, all of those things, and brought me happiness in those moments, that I could start to reignite my inner light of, shine, joy, whatever you want to say, and love. So those are my initial thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more on the fact that there's perhaps just a little thing, and you don't know what it might be, that changes your mindset or gives you a different outlook. I've got to bring in a few people. There's been some fantastic comments. I think Leslie was saying, actually, and hi Leslie, and I'm definitely going to check out your show soon. I will definitely be there. But she said your view is always unique. And I do like the fact that perspective is a different view. It's sometimes easier for one person with a different mindset to have a different view on how to achieve those moments of happiness through their day and how to help others. But everyone has that different view and that different mindset. And you can't always help somebody get a more positive one. But you can a lot of the time, and it's just finding those little things that will help. Alison said, manifest what you want. And I think you touched on that. If you go into a situation with, a positive idea in your mind, then you'll see positives. If you go in with a negative, you'll see negatives. I mean, I mentioned the horoscopes. They're not particularly something that I necessarily follow or believe. But the interesting thing about them is people who do believe them, they look for the positive in them. They read these stories and they find something They think about their day, they think about what's being said, and they apply that to their day. And it's just an interesting example of how a sort of a mindset, and no offense to anyone who believes the horoscopes, it's all good stuff because it's excellent, keeps people happy, keeps them, so, all good things. But and what was the other thing? Oh, yes, Ashif, and forgive me if I've mispronounced that, but quoted a lovely thing and said, in a gentle way, you can shake the world. And I think it was Gandhi that said that. But I really quite like that as an expression, because I'm quite a gentle person. I rarely shout, I rarely lose my temper, but you can, in a gentle way, shake the world if you say something nice or smile or do something simple. It's very gentle. You don't need a huge amount of confidence, or you don't need to be outspoken or outgoing. You can just do this one little simple thing, and it can make a really positive change. And I think that was a really good point. But while we're still on the subject, I think it's probably time for a prop.
Prop time.
Prop time. Okay. And and what I was thinking about today when I was thinking of this is what summarizes my view of happiness. And as I said at the beginning, my view of happiness is helping other people. So my prop today is a reflector. It reflects. And I think it was Mike actually that said this, that if you wear a reflector, it reflects on everyone apart from yourself. And I just like the nature of a reflector. I also like the nature of reflection. Kelly, you mentioned the word reflection today. If you can reflect on how you view happiness, and I think if you look at a reflector on your person and reflecting and radiating out, I just think it's quite a nice way of looking at happiness and maybe how to view it. And if we all wear reflectors and radiate out that happiness, then happiness is going to be bouncing about all over the place. And you'll get it back if someone else is wearing a reflector, because that's going to shine right back in your face. So there you go. That kind of summarizes my take on happiness there.
You're getting really good at these props. You're going to have to keep it going, or someone's going to say, "What happened? You didn't have a prop today."
Well, I told them on Friday. I was like, "Hey, you're going to be stripped of your Harvey prop tuck. Man, you don't have a prop today." So he saved himself with the juggling.
Yeah, well, what's beautiful about that prop is we can be the reflectors for all of us and ourselves too. So when you can say, hey, what if you had 40 people reflecting through and to and by each other? And we can do that. We've got a light to shine, and we can help other people be seen for their shining light. And it's just bringing, like we said, awareness to it. What could I do a little extra to do something beyond thinking of it, planning on it, hoping on it, praying on it? You have to take a role in making what you want happen. You can't just buy a lottery ticket and wait for the number to come in, because it'll never happen in enough lifetimes to make that investment. And, isn't it so cool when you can do a little that means so much to somebody, and trying to do as opposed to doing a lot more for yourself, to do a little bit better, to say, hey, I'm happy, and that's where you should stay. Not, well, I'm happy, but I could do better, or I'm happy, but I didn't pass that record yet, or, hey, when I can make that. Again, Ashley, yes, I agree with you. I go out in the middle of the night to find children alone and scared. It is just breaking my heart to see that. And Ashley put together a whole organization called Ashley's Angels that just does all this wonderful work internationally. She'll be here tomorrow. So, I'm so pleased to bring not only so many people with different experiences, but people who have actually acted on them, actually took advantage of them, and is doing international things to really get her uh, uh, benefit shown to so many more people. And that's what shows like this should do, is bring people who really deserve the spotlight, really are doing some incredible things. And, you know, even if we can't help them, by applauding what they do helps them. By knowing there's a group that admires, respects them. And I think that's what you can't duplicate in shows. You know, you can take the people out of the show, but you can't take the show out of the people, you know? And once you know the difference, you know, between really putting everything you have in one way or another to make every second worthwhile to everybody, you know, that's when you can find happiness, because then it'll always be around you through others. You know, at a certain point, you almost enjoy, and I enjoy, living vicariously through others. Well, I say that child who never had ice cream in a year, and you have it every day. What would it take to say, hey, have mine? You know, and you do things that are not typical. You know, I know we go into stores and my wife will take $5 off out and give it to the cashier and say, you're so kind to me today. And how many $5 bills could you give away in a week that's ever going to break you? But someone who's recognized and gets $5 from out of the blue. And my daughter does the same thing. She brings care packages in her car with a $5 bill in it. So she finds somebody, you know, it's got water, it's got a snack bar, you know, and she passes them out. And she enjoys it. And actually, during the COVID thing, on her whole porch was snacks and drinks for any delivery person, right? Because everybody was depending on delivery, and hardly anybody took it. But it was the intention and the accessibility. And I think that's so key, is we're just learning here. What's to come is going to be incredible, because we've already got the team. We've already got the message, and we're all sold on it. Now the question is, how do we get into it to help us continue to help others, make it sustainable, and put everybody to work who's waiting to go to work on things, you know, get fractional support. I mean, and then have programs like this, because I think this was an incredible combination, you know, with Kelly and Harvey and me. And soon we're going to have events, maybe 4 or 5 of us, that we can really get into stuff with. So the future is bright and getting brighter, and we're going to do everything we can to do as much as we can for as many people. So with that said, Harvey, I'll let you say parting words. I can't tell you how many comments that we'll never get to. They just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of us will respond. We appreciate your input. It really made the show special for me. I know that, and I can speak for Harvey and Kelly. You can't help but being warmer after you leave here. You know, it warms your heart. It really builds confidence in humanity. You know, that there is people who can do what we're doing and get so much value and maybe help others. So, Harvey. Or was
yeah,
it?
Absolutely. And yeah, I second the motion about all the amazing comments. And I've said before, but I get real, genuine value from the show and from the comments. I always take time to look at these comments, you know, and I get genuine value. I mean, what you just said there, Don, about the $5 bill, you know, and to just, my friend Van, or Gene Van Horn, he's been on the show a couple of times in the comments, but he always has, I think it's $2, but he always has $2 that he brings with him every day with the intention of doing something good for somebody with those $2, whether it's $2, $5, $10. It's a lovely intention to have. You know, if you go out thinking, you know, I want to try and use that to make, you know, to make someone's life a bit better, you know, that's a great thing to do. You know, Cynthia there was talking about going into a restaurant and buying, or paying for somebody's food. I thought that's what a lovely thing to do. I've been in shops sometimes, and if someone is struggling to find the money, or I've bought people shopping before, and I think it's there's just some really nice little things to try and do and remember. Some real. We talk about take homes on this show. I mean, there's some real take homes here. If you go out and do a few of these things. And that way, you're gonna bring some happiness to a lot of people's lives. And if all of us, just 40 people or so here, all did the same thing and all learn from some amazing things that are being said, then what a wonderful thing that would be. And I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put £5 in my wallet, and I'm gonna go out with that intention every day, because that's a great idea and that makes me happy. So, happiness keeps coming in different ways. So I love it. Thank you, everybody, as well. And it's been a pleasure as usual.
Kelly, well, I can't say enough for Harvey, but Kelly, let's give
I just have to go on the fact of, this show, everyone here in this community brings me and joy, and being part of this with you, Dawn, and being on this part of our journey together and where it's going to go is bringing me so much joy. And I'm super excited about it, because I just love how this is organically growing. So with that being said, because I know we're a smidge over, but I will end like I always do, kind of to piggyback on what Harvey just said. Everyone go out and shine so bright that others can't help but shine too.
It's always so beautiful, and when people are plugged in and everybody's plugged in with each other, it's just amazing how much can be said that's relevant, that's important, and in some ways that's sacred. Because I get the question all the time, how can you do this every day for almost a year? And getting to our main topic of happiness, this is probably the happiest hour of my day, right? Not only because of what I learn, and I do learn so much, not only that, but I learn so many new people and new ways, and some of it's just a matter of modification. But what Kelly said earlier in the program, when one or two people tell you sincerely that this stopped them from doing something that could have been irreversible, or this took them from a really bad place into a better place sooner than they ever realized, and now they can attach to it. It's truly a support group, and I think everybody needs support. Wherever you are, you're either going through something, have just gone through something, or about to go through something, or know someone who is. And that changes how you are to continue to take more on and still maintain a positive attitude, a generous attitude. I think if we can exercise our giving muscles more and more, find reasons to give, ways to give, not, when it's a miracle, I'll give something. Everything you do in life should be expansive. And everything you offer in life should be expansive. Why would you have a little tube that things have to go through to get out of when you can open it up as far as it can go and have fun with it? And I think last thing with happiness is, if you're happy, you should be having fun, or you're not truly happy, right? If you're not singing, if you're not dancing, if you're not laughing, then you're not having dessert with your happiness, right? So make it a little bit more enjoyable, delicious. And we'll be back tomorrow. Like I say, we're going to have Ashley here with Andrea. It's going to be a great show. Blake last week, Clint. We're just unbelievable. And, that's what we have to do, is make more room for more people, for their light to be seen. Because, when you hear it from Blake or Clint or Lillian or anybody, it's beautiful in itself, because it's heartfelt, it's individualized, it's personalized, and someone really had to get to a point where they appreciated their story and then felt compelled to share it to help others, not just to be heard or self-promote themselves. So anyways, everybody's got work to do. I forget it's Monday. Thank you very much. Come back tomorrow. We'll try to do even better. And we're always open for outreach. We're accessible, and we care what you have to say and feel. So with that, take care. Bye for now.